Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the recognition. And I want to thank my colleagues who have just been on the floor talking about one of the biggest challenges that we face in this country, which is having a secure southwest border, because it is in fact a national security problem and a homeland security problem. And it's the Biden's own policies that have caused this to happen. This avalanche of humanity at our border that is a colossal challenge to our nation is due to specific decisions taken by President Joe Biden. And his lack of leadership to recognize that is a disaster and then do nothing about it compounds it. Since President Biden took office, there have been 7.1 million known border crossings across our southwest border. Almost 1 million gotaways. These are people that we don't know that cross the border. And in December, as my colleagues noted, 300,000 migrants apprehended at the border, a record. And yet President Biden has still not agreed to work with Congress to do this, solve this problem. For months, 300,000 people in 1 month. Never before have we seen numbers like that for 20 years. So I went down to the border a few days ago with our new speaker, Speaker Mike Johnson, and over 60 other members to Eagle Pass. My colleagues were on that trip. That was my 8th trip to the border, which is about 8 times more than Joe Biden's been to the border in 50 years of public service. While there, we saw a group of Venezuelans come across the border illegally in the United States right in front of the new Speaker of the House as he was meeting with Texas Department of Public Safety. Now, I can promise you, despite Secretary Mayorkas saying that the Biden administration has operational control of the border, it's nonsense. It passes no smell test of any practical, common sense American to think that you could say, with 300,000 people interdicted in 1 month, that we have operational control. President Trump inherited an open border from President Obama, but through many tough choices, over 4 years of trial and error, several Homeland Security secretaries, he got a strategy that began to work. And it was President Biden on January 20th, 2021, that threw those working policies away, and we have an avalanche of fentanyl coming across our border, an avalanche of human trafficking, kids being trafficked across our border. Over 300 people since the president's been in office that are on the terror watch list have crossed the border. Let that sink in. What happened to them? How many people came across the border on the terror watch list that we did not catch? So as we've been told, we have challenges. Criminal cartels making billions, not from selling drugs to our citizens, but criminal cartels making billions trafficking people across our border. And as we were told by the FBI in this House last month, this is the most serious moment for America since 2014, and some argue since 9/11, for the risk of a terror attack in our country, and yet we don't have a secure border. Which is why we passed H.R. 2 across this House floor with Republican support and sent it to the Senate, where it sits since last May, Mr. Speaker, since last May. So the President of the United States and the Senate have known the views of this body in detail about what immigration policies that we would change, what funding we would apply, what border security ideas we have. They're all in H.R. 2. And yet there's been no action by the Senate. So I join my friends where I'm not sure that we have a lot to look forward to, but I'm an optimist. President Biden told the Speaker yesterday, no, I want to change policy on the border. I want to work with Congress on a border solution. Bring it on. We want to see it. So as an optimist, I hope that when we come back to this House 1 week from now, that in fact we see a deal that is something that House Republicans can support, that is not lip service, but true border security and immigration reform.